I definitely remember, like, as you said, Eddie Van Halen, just being like, man, am I even cool if I'm not trying to take my guitar apart right now? And how many guitars I just like maybe almost successfully took apart and then got nowhere near putting them back together until, like, about a year ago, started putting all these guitars together and stuff, because I don't know, the wiring and stuff's so complicated when you're a kid. It makes perfect sense when you get a little older. Yeah, at least it did for me.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to another edition of the GuitarGuts podcast, hosted by me, Mark Murray. And today, my guest is Luke Mann. He's a legit shredder, man. This guy knows a lot of theory, and he's learning a lot of crazy stuff. If you go over to his Instagram page, at Luke Mann Shredding, you'll see all the stuff he's been working on. Check him out. He actually DM'd me and asked me if there's any techniques or anything I've been working on lately. And I told him a couple things, and he said, why don't we set up like a Skype session and I can give you a couple tips on it. So I said, while we're at it, we got the Skype going, let's record it, and I can do a podcast with you too. So we said, hell yeah, let's do it. And one of the things I like about Luke is he's a legit SoCal dude like myself, born and raised here, Southern California, and he's as Southern California as it comes. He's got the long hair. He's got a real surfer vibe. You look at his guitars, they've got really cool custom paint jobs on them. So he's right up my alley. This podcast is going to be in a couple different sections. So when I talk to him, we did the podcast first, and then we do the lesson / coaching seconds. He's got some good little guitar tips to help me along the way with some of the stuff I've been working on. And at the end, he kind of pitched his guitar course that he's putting on. So I'll wait till that episode, and then we'll talk about the guitar course a little bit more. But check out my page either today or tomorrow, and it should be there alongside this one. So let's get on into the episode with Luke Mann. It's really cool, and we're considered essential, so I'm still working, but it's just down to 40 hours a week instead of like 60, which I've been doing.
Wow. Well, it sounds pretty luxurious.
Somewhat.
Yeah. I think I've seen like an ad from Apple where, maybe it was just CGI, but it was kind of the newest phone being texted and that sort of thing. Might not have been totally accurate, but very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, so still cranking out videos, still doing lots of guitar stuff, but yeah. You mean you're having time to reflect because you're at home? Are you like in lockdown quarantine?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I'm just literally either on my computer at home working out, or just kind of chilling out with my girlfriend right now. Yeah, it's like just work nonstop. Yeah.
Dude, I just recently found your page, and you are California AF, man. Like when I asked you where you're from, and you're like, I'm from California too. I was like, oh, fuck, I should have known. You could tell right away.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I'm glad we're both rocking man buns today, representing. I brewed my own pour over coffee today, so yeah.
I got my coffee right here too.
Nice, man. What kind of coffee grounds are you using as of late?
Nothing crazy. I just use like Pete's Coffee, or there's a company called Metal Mocha. Shit, I should know the name, but it's one of my friends online, Chris, and he has a coffee company from Australia, and this is their coffee mug they sent me, and they make good stuff.
Wow. Yeah, I'm getting really passionate about coffee right now, so that's cool. I'll have to check them out. Mocha Metal, you said, or? Metal
Mocha Merch. I think that's the name of the coffee company.
I'll make a note. Yeah.
Yeah, cool dudes.
Yeah.
I was checking out your page, man. You got some crazy videos on there. I was looking back at some of the ones from like 2018, and you're giving like sweep lessons, and you're like talking all kinds of crazy shit. Like you're a funny dude.
I appreciate it, man. I was just kind of going through a time where I was blown off steam, basically, just kind of like needed a creative outlet to kind of express my inner comedian, or just nut job. And yeah, I was before I kind of got a mentor and cleaned up the act a little bit, trying to be a bit more professional these days. But that was a fun time. I was like, I'm just gonna build a silly brand, and obviously didn't do as great as GuitarGuts, but it was a fun period of time, and I appreciate the compliment on the guitar playing. Thanks, man.
Who's your mentor?
So I bought a business mentor, Freedom Business Mentor, and they have an Instagram of their own and stuff, and they're super super cool. You can check out their gram as well. Not super guitar related though. Man, that shark, those shark fin inlays, like dual shark fin inlays on either side of your head right now it's like,
that's funny. I'm like right in the middle of those two guitars.
Yeah. God, those are really wicked guitars. When did you get those?
This one, the Tiger one, I painted it like that. So I bought it a couple years ago, and it's just a basic RR3 bolt-on, nothing crazy, but I bought it for I think even like $300 on eBay, beat up, and it was all, I don't even know if it was working.
Oh.
I buy guitars. I have like almost 50 guitars. So I buy them cheap, like Jacksons from the 90s, and then I put new pickups in them, rewire them, repaint some of them. Sometimes I flip them. I've got a couple that I've, like 9 of them actually, that I've got in this room that I've been trying to get some time together to work on and flip. But that's what I did with this one. I was gonna buy it and sell it, and then after I painted it up like that, I was like, oh shit, like this is one of the coolest Rhodes I've ever seen. I gotta keep this thing now.
Dude, that thing is super sick. It's like Satchel had a baby with Randy Rhodes or something. That thing's absolutely badass. And I can't believe you got it for $300. That looks like a USA Custom Shop or something,
Yeah, it's just an RR3, and then I painted it red first, and then you could tell like the center by the pickups is actually red, and then it bursts out to the orange. Then I put some tape on it and painted the black. Actually, I did it the other way around. I did the black. No, I'm wrong about that. It was the black last. It was red, then orange, and then I taped it up and added the black.
Wow. I'm starting to see it now that you're talking about it. Very cool, man.
And then the purple one over here, I just got that a couple months ago, or about a month ago. I was at NAMM for 2020, and I saw that thing at the Jackson booth, and I lost my fucking mind. I couldn't believe it. I picked it up off the wall because, number one, I love gold hardware. I love Floyd Roses. I love quilted or flame maple. I love a binding. I love 24 frets. So a lot of Rhodes don't have 24 frets. They don't, a lot of them have the pick guard like this one over here.
Right.
But then when I picked up this thing, I was like, oh my God. I was like, I got to get one of these things. And then I posted a video on my page of me at NAMM, like looking at it, like tripping out. And this company, shout out to Safe Haven Music, because they contacted me. They're a guitar store over in New York. And they're like, hey, we got some of those things in. If you want to like kind of promote us, we'll sell you one cheaper. So they hooked me up with one at a discount and got that beast in here. And this thing is like my favorite guitar ever now. Dude,
that thing looks badass. And yeah, how cool that we were able to slide NAMM into 2020 before all the shit hit the fan,
Yeah, very lucky. Even, what's funny about that too is I bought Purell just for NAMM, and I never used Purell before this. I didn't care about any of that stuff. And then my girl's like, bring Purell, because every year everybody gets sick. I saw your pictures. You went to NAMM before too, so
Yeah.
They call it NAMthrax. Everybody getting these like sicknesses because everybody's going around over 3 days playing the same exact guitars that no one's wiping down. Like hundreds and hundreds of people every day are playing them from all over the world. So
yeah.
So this time I said I'm bringing some Purell, and I used it, of course, but I had like a whole bottle left over, and going into the coronavirus thing now, I'm like, oh hell yeah, I got some Purell.
Yeah. I actually kind of lucked out this year because I brought my girlfriend to NAMM, and obviously like it's a sadistic move to do something like that to someone who's undeserving, and but fortunately I kind of had like an excuse. I mean, if I was like this, I'm gonna juice every drop out of this once a year, and I would do it hard. But since she was there, I had this cool excuse like, yeah, I'm just gonna head home now because she wants to get going. So
Yeah.
I didn't. I'm not sure I was there long enough to contract any diseases, but good on you for bringing the Purell.
Yeah, this year I also kind of told myself I'm not going to mess around playing as much guitars because I played all the Kiesels, I played all the Jacksons, I played everything pretty much. So I was like, I know what everything is. And I don't think there's going to be too much different play-wise, like playability-wise. So I
Yeah.
really didn't play too many guitars either. But yeah, you never know. I might have got something if I did. Who knows?
Yeah, cool, man. Any favorites from the guitars you did try out?
Honestly, I think I only tried a couple Kiesels. I love Kiesels. I don't have any yet, and I would love to get some in the collection someday.
Yeah.
But it was basically this Rhodes, this purple Rhodes. I saw that, and that's the one I was like, okay, this is crazy to me. Like, it's exactly what I love. I love purple too. So like, purple guitar, come on.
Yeah, perfect, man. How fitting that it's now sitting a few feet from you.
Yeah. On your page, man, you reached out to me because you said like we were talking back and forth, and you said, would you want to set up like a private Skype session? Do you do private sessions with people often? Is that like you scout people and check them out?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Basically, I love to hit up guitarists. Sometimes guitarists hit up me, and they're just kind of like, "Man, what string gauge do you use?" And or like, what kind of picks, or that was just a cool thing you played, I'm grateful. And I always kind of dig a little bit deeper, like, where are you in your guitar journey? Because yeah, it's something I'm super passionate about. It's just like I take guitar lessons to this day, of course, but I just remember kind of making it through the ranks of different techniques or different theory sort of epiphanies. And I just like to see where people are at, and get a feel for the typical problems that people are running into when trying to progress at the guitar, and see if I can help, and if I can't help, then it's a cool lesson for me. It's like, I'm going to figure out how. I think it's one thing to learn guitar, but another thing is to teach guitar and to be able to like relay these lessons into everyone's different way of learning, and like help them absorb the same sort of concept, whether it's like in speed or theory or just sort of timing, things like that.
It makes you definitely cut the bullshit out, because there's certain people that I know that if I start talking, one of my favorite things is progressive metal. So like I'll be dealing with all these weird time signatures and stuff, and I know some people will ask me questions, and if I don't really want to talk about it, I'll go super deep into it. And like kind of like they're like, okay, never mind. Like you got to cut the bullshit when you're teaching somebody, because you got to explain all the little stuff, and like you start to question yourself, and you start to go like, wait, why do we do it that way? And it like fills in all your gaps too, I feel.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it for sure, man. Especially like as a fan of progressive metal too, and just how dense you can get with progressive metal.
What's some of your favorite progressive stuff?
Dude, I love Symphony X. It's probably my favorite band ever. Dude.
Hell yeah, dude! I listened to them today.
Just their brand of time signatures, and Russell Allen is my all-time favorite singer. And then Michael Romeo, the stuff that he does on guitar is one thing, and the stuff that he's composing with orchestral programs is just like beyond godly as well. And then just the fact the whole band is such a powerhouse. Mike LaPond, and I love odd meter, but then at the same time I just love the classic, or just the thrash sort of beat and stuff. And they fucking have it all, the guitar solos, the orchestral elements, the badass singer, the ripping lead guitar, and yeah, they're fucking phenomenal. Besides them, I like Nevermore a lot. I think Jeff Loomis is a fantastic player, and again, World Dame, great fucking singer. I love it when the singer is badass. That gets me stoked and hyped. But yeah, obviously you like Symphony X too.
Dude, Michael Romeo's album, that album is insane.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Dude.
When he was doing like dubstep things with instrumental guitars.
There's that one, like, I think it's called like Machines Fucking or something like that, and dude, he does crazy stuff on that. I don't know if he does he only have one like self-titled or like self-released album or whatever.
I think he did one back in the day called The Dark Chapter, perhaps. But that was like maybe 1994. This one I think came out 2018. My memory serves me correct, but yeah, I think besides those two, it's pretty much just been like Symphony X, because like obviously you can see with the gaps that they take between the release, he's very much perfectionist when it comes to putting his name on something, and I don't know how much time he has like in between writing Symphony X to write just stuff for him and stuff.
So what's your history with guitar? How long have you been playing for?
So I started well, my cousin put the guitar in my hand, when I was 10, and he was like, all right, try this, but again, it comes back to that whole sort of teaching thing. He wasn't really a teacher, and bless him for introducing me to the instrument, but he'd be like, it's like this. No, like, let me show you. And I didn't actually get to play the guitar much, but I was just kind of like stoked on it. Little things like Sweet Home Alabama and, Stairway to Heaven, things like that. And yeah, when I was in maybe 6th grade or so, I heard Sweet Child of Mine, and fuck, dude. And then I then basically alienated myself from all the other kids in guitar class by playing that song enough to the point where they make fun of me. I remember being at a high school football game, and like this group of kids came up to me and just started singing it while I was trying to get a hot dog and stuff. Yeah. and then getting into high school, I was just into like Ozzy and stuff, and all the epic players that played for him. But then getting into high school, I kind of got into all the instrumental guitarists like Steve Vai and Paul Gilbert, Joe Satriani, and like I said, Jeff Loomis, Michael Romeo. And from there it was like, fuck, well, I gotta get my chops together. How did I not say Yngwie Malmsteen, of course. And then I was like, yeah, man, I gotta learn how to fucking play guitar. So from there I was lucky enough to go to an art school where there was a lot of other guitarists. I went to OSHA. I'm not sure how many people know the name of that school, but it was an epic place to be at the time. Just so many ridiculously talented musicians and stuff. And nowadays I'm just trying to learn jazz. So that was kind of my guitar journey. What about yours, man?
Well, how old are you?
I'm 24 now.
Okay, so I'm almost 10 years older than you. I'm 33, and I started about the same time, like around 10 years old or something, like 4th grade, I think it was.
Yeah, nice.
And it was Eddie Van Halen for me. I was at school, and I was me and this kid started talking. I think we were talking about Mortal Kombat, and then we started to like spend the night at each other's houses, and then his dad came out, and his dad had this Jackson Dinky Performer with the Floyd Rose and humbuckers and all this, and I didn't know anything about guitars. I knew nothing about metal I knew Van Halen's music, but I didn't really know like, oh, that's a Van Halen song. Oh, that's a Van Halen song too. Like, oh, I know a bunch of Van Halen.
Yeah.
So like I was like discovering it, and like I remember looking at the guitar and just being like, this thing is so cool. Like I don't know what any of the pickups. I was looking at the pickups and like the pull pieces on them, and I'm like, I don't know what these are, but they look so cool. Like I want one of these so bad. Yeah. And then I got into Metallica, and I of course got a guitar that Christmas. I got a Squier Strat and started learning Metallica songs, started learning a little bit of Van Halen licks here or there, and then eventually went on to like Dream Theater and Michelangelo Badio. It's where I learned like most of my chops from, and of course Yngwie and Paul Gilbert and all the greats that we all worship.
Dude, that's so sick, man. I completely resonate with what you said about just looking at the guitar that you don't even know what some of these components are, but you just know that it's bitchin', and it has something to do with how sick that guitar tone is on the record, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So what was your actual first guitar?
It's a Yamaha Pacifica. I still have it. And yeah, I have like 3 Yamaha Pacificas, all different models.
How come?
So I have a buddy who's he does sales over at Yamaha, and yeah, he used to be head of the drum department and stuff. And so he's just been family friend the whole time. And every year they have like a family friend sort of thing. My dad's really, really nice, supportive, and encouraging with music. So sometimes if he sees a good deal, he's been getting me a guitar. So over the years, yeah, I've racked up a good amount of Yamaha guitars. But I think they're awesome, man. What was your first guitar?
It was a Squier Bullet. It's like a weird, obscure model that I see once in a while. I'll see someone who had like the exact same one, and I'm like, oh my god, let me buy that off you, because I didn't keep mine. I took the neck off the body and started like taking it apart, and I didn't know how to put it back together. And also at that point, I kind of didn't care. I was like, whatever, it's a piece of shit. But then now looking back, I'm like, oh, that was my first guitar. I really wish I had that.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I definitely remember, like, as you said, Eddie Van Halen, just being like, man, am I even cool if I'm not trying to take my guitar apart right now? And how many guitars I just like maybe almost successfully took apart and then got nowhere near putting them back together until like, you know, about a year ago, started putting all these guitars together and stuff, because I don't know, the wiring and stuff's so complicated when you're a kid. It makes perfect sense when you get a little older. Yeah, at least it did for me.
I see the guitar behind you. What is that one right there?
Are you talking this one?
Yeah. Is that a Kramer?
So that's a really common guess. So nice, man. Yeah, because I obviously because of the headstock, I would assume huge fan of banana headstocks. But yeah, my friend he's actually my girlfriend's dad. He would just he paints and stuff, and he's got a sick guitar collection. So I kind of had this idea. My band Railgun, at the time we were doing all this Norse mythology, and so I was like, how sick would it be to have a guitar with a Valkyrie on it? And so he was able to kind of airbrush the transition between this is like a rap basically that we got off the internet, and then actually I posted it and the artist found it, or I tagged him, yeah, and he was cool enough to just be like, it's cool, man, because like I didn't pay him shit or anything, and then he was just like, someone else called me out on it too. He was like, dude, you gotta pay that guy, and he was like, dude, it's not a mass production or like anything you plan to sell. I mean, it's just yours. I'm flattered you use the art, you know. So kudos to him for being so cool. But yeah, my girlfriend's dad, he helped me airbrush. Like you can kind of see where the rap stops and then where like what he did transitions. And so he in Futhark, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but the rune language, it says runecaster in all these runes right here. And yeah, this was just kind of my like main guitar for while I was playing with that band, and it's really sick. He did this one as well. In high school, I was like, I need to have a melon caster.
How come? What inspired the watermelon?
I don't know. I think I was actually eating a piece of watermelon in the backyard, and I was like, wow, it was just kind of like a hippie, like you said, California moment, where I was like, man, isn't it cool how like nature just created this pattern all on its own? And like the guitar is a natural instrument. It's made of wood, and it's like, it would seem fitting to have like a natural print on it. And I mean, watermelon's kind of transition between like 80s stripes and like without trying to be, you know, because it's a thing of its own already. So yeah, it's just a kind of a nutty idea, and then plus like looking at guys like Steve Vai and Paul Gilbert, and they all had the like flying fucking colors back in the 80s, and that's the stuff I was practicing at the time. I just thought it'd be badass.
Dude, I like it. If there's anything I like as much as a purple guitar, it's a green guitar. Like those are my two colors right there.
Wow. Thanks, man.
Yeah. Yeah, and then you have both of them right there.
Yes. Yeah. And then actually, my girlfriend painted this one, and then of course her dad cleared it. But like, dude, I just think she's such a crazy artist. Like, so this is sort of a wave barreling, and yeah, I mean, like,
dude, that thing is gorgeous.
Thanks, man. It's my best sounding guitar. So like, yeah, it was just like the most epic gift ever. And that painting is so cool.
It's a Charvel, right? That one?
Yeah. So that was my other thing is like, for the longest time, I was like, dude, I'm just going to save money and put together these guitars, and they're going to be so much more badass because, you know, I put them together with all the premium components. But I can't tell you how wrong I was, because Fender's been putting guitars together for fucking decades, man. They know how to do it. You know, they know like which neck goes on which body, and like, yeah, I say Fender just because obviously Fender owns Charvel, and I'm sure there's some Charvels being produced at the Fender factory. I don't know for certain, but I'm sure at the same time. And I just think dude, when I put that thing on, plugged it in for the first time, I was just like, holy shit, you know, I've been wasting my time with the other guitars and stuff. But
that my green Frankenstrat behind me, I think it's the same model. It's the Charvel that's got like the adjustable truss rod at the heel. Yeah,
that's the one.
That's what this thing started as. And man, the necks, I don't know how to explain the neck on it, but it's like soft. It feels like soft, but also it's like raw, and it's just like it's fast, and it's not thin, but it is thin. Like I don't even know how to describe those necks.
Is yours made in Mexico?
Yeah.
Yeah, mine too. So it's like, it's all the top-notch pieces, you know, like the Real Floyd and the Duncans, and then it's just like crafted over there. I guess it makes it, you know, they can bring the price point way down, because I think it was like $600 for the guitar. And I would say the way you described the neck was like spot on, dude. They're so comfy, so like natural feeling, but they're not. They have some sort of like oil on there or like varnish. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a weird but very comfortable neck. I've got another one over there too. Then those two guitars, like I've got them both tuned to E flat to play Van Halen stuff. So it's almost a shame because I hardly ever do that. But like I want to play them more because they're super nice.
Yeah, seriously, they are. So are those two guitars like some of the best sounding guitars in your collection, or?
I mean, to be honest, I would say that. Because those ones I have Van Halen pickups in, so they don't sound balanced. They sound very Van Halen 1, which is an awesome guitar tone, but it's a little. It's got its place, I would say. Whereas like this Jackson Rhodes over here, this new one, or even this guitar next to it. Yeah,
that thing's cool. Is that a comparison or what?
It looks just like one, but it's actually an Edwards made by ESP from Japan.
Whoa.
So this thing is wicked. I played the comparison ones too, because I saw the comparison ones and I was like, holy crap, it's another 27 fret guitar. Like it's really similar to this thing, but it doesn't even compare. Like this thing is crazy. And I don't know, I love EMGs, but there's something about the Duncans and this and the Rhodes there that they sound so full and they sound clear, I would say.
Wow. So you mentioned you didn't think the green guitar sort of sounded balanced, and I was just curious, what do you mean by that when you say balanced?
Well, because it's got what does it have in it? That one, I think I have a Lundgren Heaven 77 pickup. So it doesn't have quite as much low end as I prefer, is what I guess I mean by that. Like it's got plenty of high, it's got good mids, but like I like it when I do a chug. I want it to like shake the room, you know, even if it's in standard, I want it to shake the room. And that one doesn't do that. It's a little more tinny, but still sounds awesome. I mean, for Van Halen stuff, you can't beat it.
Yeah, it's just so funny. As you're taking a sip of coffee, because like I've been messing around with all these different coffee grind sizes and pour over and water temperatures and all these variables, trying to get the most well balanced cup of coffee. And so now you're sitting here talking to me about my guitar tone, and you're right, dude. The most dopest guitar tone with the riffs that thump, you know, is the perfect well balanced cup of coffee with like a croissant on the side.
I love croissants, man. That's nice.
Yeah, dude, they're sick.
Maybe even a little chocolate in the croissant.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, not to take anything away. I know I kind of jumped in while you were talking about that sick Red Edwards guitar, but it's just really interesting way to describe the sound of that guitar, and you know, the sort of frequencies you're getting from the pickup.
Yeah,
it is crazy.
There's something different. Like I love EMGs, but I play mostly guitars with EMGs. I would say that, but there's something about those two guitars that just they're so when you just strum a chord with full gain, you just hear all the notes. You know.
You know what? I've noticed that because you're really techie, like with your recording, right? You're doing lots of recordings of your own. I saw. So like, I feel like guys as schooled as you on that sort of stuff all sort of gravitate towards the EMG for some sort of production reasons. I mean, why do you like the EMG pickup so much?
The main thing for me is I like a lot of sustain. So like if I'm doing like anything with like leads that I want leads to hang on for a long time, you know, I hate to me when you run out of tone, like because all my guitars have Floyd Roses too, so they don't have quite as much sustain. Like I have a couple Epiphone Les Pauls and a Gibson Flying V and a Les Paul. Those four guitars, they ring forever. You hit an E5 on those things with full gain, and you could just sit there, you know. And then with these ones, the Floyd Rose guitars, they lose their tone way quicker, it seems like. So with the EMGs, and you could even throw like a big block, sustain block on the back. I have a couple guitars with like upgraded blocks, like those brass blocks from FU Tone.
Mm-hmm.
Those add a lot of sustain too. So like between those, the EMGs, but like I said, the EMGs don't give me the tone. I'm always, you know, I love the tone, but it's the main reason is because Metallica. Like I got into EMGs because of Metallica.
Okay.
But then the sustain and the power behind them is just something about it.
Man, I've never actually like owned an active pickup guitar, you know, and really set into them. I was always kind of one of my favorite guitarists, Jairo Alejo, just to plug him and his band Jessica. Dude, insane player. Not getting as much recognition as he needs, but he's got this crazy cleanliness. Like when you hear him, similar to Michelangelo Badio, and he has EMG pickups, you know. And when I played the guitar, I kind of got it a little bit. You know, I wasn't playing as like badass as him or anything, but I could kind of see like, you know what, this like there's definitely something to this. Each note is very pronounced and like full, but at the same time, it wasn't something where I was like, fuck, I need these, because I kind of dig like the dynamic and the fidelity, you know, players like George Lynch, or, you know, just Jeff Beck, or most guitar players that are like guitar players that just kind of like Guthrie Govan, of course, that, you know, if they want to tickle a note, they just tickle the note, you know, and if they want to fucking slap the note, then they slap the note, and the amp responds to that, and the pickups respond to that. And it's not sort of the thing that I would find from EMGs personally, but I know there's a lot of like active, sensitive pickups out there now. Like Gus G's got them, and James Hetfield eventually came out with his signature EMG that's supposed to be dope, or like Richie Faulkner is playing some sick EMGs. Now I'm just rambling about EMGs, but yeah, hopefully you get my point. And or you have some more wisdom on that, the sort of like more passively active pickups.
Well, if you look at like Thomas McRocklin or Tosin Abasi, they're playing those Fishman Fluents, and those seem to be like, from what I'm seeing, all the new, like, I don't know if Angel Vivaldi's using them, but like a lot of these newer up and coming like next generation shredders are all using Fishman Fluents now. And I'm like, fuck, I just upgraded everything with EMGs and Seymour Duncans. Now I got to switch them all to Fishman Fluents. But I haven't tried them yet. So I actually bought a blank body, like a block of wood, maple, or it's might be ash. I think I bought ash. And I'm going to make a guitar from scratch and just throw some sweet neck on it, by like a Jackson or ESP neck or like a Warmoth neck or something.
Yeah.
And I want to throw Fishman in that thing because I want to make like a full custom body, and it seems like a challenge. I put it off for like a year and a half now. I need to probably get to that.
Yeah, dude. That would be sick, and do some sort of side by side, with maybe popping some EMGs in and seeing about the fluence. But yeah, I feel quite behind the times as well. Just kind of like, I know there is a lot of craze on them. I never know, dude. I never know if this shit's all hype or what. I'm always like, man, I could upgrade all my gear, or I could just like learn this Joe Pass lick. It's like, I don't know, man.
Well, dude, I gotta say, I mean, your playing is pretty crazy. Like, I was watching your videos, and you're like a very advanced shredder. What's the jazz stuff you've been working on lately?
Thanks, man. So my I just started learning from this guy Randall Winvik. He's on Instagram as well, and yeah, just funny enough, because he was giving me shit for my dirty fretboard as well. And I was like, who is that? And then he actually had gone to that art school with me. I didn't recognize him at all. Side story. But getting after this Django Reinhardt, he's still the only actual name I know in gypsy jazz and like proper gypsy jazz. There's a lot of modern players out there right now, but I know 2 songs, and I want to learn more songs, and eventually, playing a gypsy jazz band, because it's like acoustic thrash metal. It is so sick. It's so fast, and it's like a refreshing challenge, because you hear about like Marty Friedman. He was like, I left Megadeth because I was playing this stuff on autopilot, and I get that, dude. When you're in one key and you've spent like the past 10 years of your life understanding that one key. When I say one key, I mean like one let's take the natural minor scale or the natural major scale, like the C scale. Even if you apply it to keys that aren't necessarily C, those shapes, and you're doing the same sort of rhythms. You're doing the 6 tuplets and the 16th note groups of 4s, and that's all you've done. And the chords never throw you a curveball. It's always like, no matter what I play right now, it's going to sound dope. It gets fucking boring. And besides that, like, I love the sound of like New Orleans jazz, or like when you go to Disneyland and then you hear like the Alice in Wonderland theme and it's all like crazy clarinets on crack and shit. And like, I just love that sound. And I've always wanted to kind of just give a nod at these guys, or like make people laugh during a power metal solo, just by like throwing in some crazy chromatic sort of jazz thing, and I really want to make that sound a part of my playing and a part of my DNA, and I haven't. I put it off for so long. And man, I've been helping a bunch of people with their guitar playing, and it seems silly not to reinvest some of that earnings, back into my own guitar education, be able to provide more value to people. But yeah, the gypsy jazz, man, the acoustic thrash, it's like you're walking on a pathway, and that pathway skips 10 feet to the left, and then you have to try to find that pathway 10 feet to your left. But once you get there, it's like six feet to your right. Or it's kind of like if you have 10 board games and you're drinking every time you you fuck something up in one of these board games, and every time it's your turn, it's a different board game. So it's like Clue the first time, and then you're playing Texas Hold'em, and then you're playing like some sort of Harry Potter Monopoly, you know what I mean? And yeah, it's just the challenge, and it makes it exciting. It makes me feel like stimulated in learning, you know, and that's a good feeling that that I'm kicking myself because it was such a forgotten feeling of mine. Again, long-winded answer, but yeah, that's why I'm into jazz.
Do you ever listen to Between the Buried and Me?
You know what? I've heard a lot about that band. I think it was. I don't. How's that for an answer?
I think you'd like them because they do a lot of stuff that taught me how to play completely differently. Like they go chromatic sometimes, and like in the middle of a solo, they'll just go 4 notes in a row on one string, like right down the neck, and like they do like weird stuff, and it's a lot of stuff that I didn't think you could do in music. And then now that I saw they do it, and like the whole band follows the weirdness of it, like. It doesn't sound off key because everybody's going off key together, and then they all come back on key together, and then they change tempo, change time signatures, they change genre in the middle of a song. They'll like be like death metal, and then they'll go into like a hoedown, like a country hoedown, and they got like in the background they'll add like people going like, "Come on, what the hell you doing over there? Give me another beer," and like all this crazy shit, and like
yeah,
or they'll go into like a jazz section it sounds like a jazz club with like glasses clinking. Like they do a lot of really weird stuff, but. It for me, it's exactly what you're talking about. It broke me away from like being in this position between 12 and 15 up and down the neck. Like that's like the Metallica position.
Sure.
Like Marty Friedman was stuck in probably for all those years in Megadeth too, kind of. So I don't know. I think you'd like them. I bet you they throw weird curveballs into the music.
Yeah, Between the Buried and Me, you said.
Yeah.
All right, I'm definitely gonna listen to them because I love that. Some people hate on like this like ADD genres style of music that's become popular just because I don't know. I think the same thing. It's just out of boredom, dude. Because it's like you love death metal, but jazz is sick, and like you still want to. I don't know. You still want to just play out, and so you got to do some like rock anthems also, and yeah, man, I'll definitely give them a scope.
I think like the metalcore scene of the early 2000s kind of ruined it for a lot of people, and then what fixed it for me was Between the Buried and Me, going back to like they go into soft stuff, and then when they do a breakdown or some double bass, it actually means something rather than like certain bands like As I Lay Dying or something, which I like them and they're good, but every song's like a double bass thing at the same tempo, then it goes into a breakdown, and then it goes into a lead riff, and then it's a double bass riff, then it's a breakdown, then it's like this. You could see these patterns over and over, and you could even the first time hearing the song, you're like, I could tell they're about to go into a breakdown, and then it happens, and you're like, see, it becomes these cookie cutter songs.
I gotcha. Yeah, I know what you mean. I think Avenged Sevenfold did come out of that scene though, and they're a fucking phenomenal band. But yeah, I know what you mean. When music gets too predictable, it's like, well, I want to listen to something that gives me a bit more of a catch string, you know?
Hey, how long has your band been together? Because I checked you guys out for the first time. I saw it on your Instagram profile and your link tree, Railgun, and you guys are fucking badass.
Dude, thanks so much, man. Yeah, our singer Cole started the band in 2014. Yeah. And we've had minimal lineup changes. It's been myself, Bryce Snyder, who's now playing for Art of Shock, and Paul Geller, our drummer, who also plays with Ninja Gandhi. Super sick.
Oh, I fucking love Ninja Gandhi.
You really?
Hell yeah, Wax Empire, dude.
Wow, that's so epic that you.
They actually sent me their album because I was like posting about them and stuff, and yeah, they're badass.
Dude, that's so sick. Yeah, we toured with Ninja Gandhi, and we're super super close friends. So next time we're in the neck of your woods, we'll have to all go get Korean barbecue or something. But,
dude, that'd be so cool.
But yeah, man, him and yeah, Cole Jones. So we've our newest album, Chronicles, we wrote with the four of us, and yeah, just taking the influences that we all have. Obviously, Paul plays with Ninja Gandhi, so it's much more progressive backbeat than your typical power metal band. I shouldn't even say that. Not trying to sound snobby. We're in 4/4 plenty of the time, and yeah, Bryce, is just a monster on the bass, and he was trying to bring like all sorts of cool elements he'd been working on and learning into the album, but it's mostly like a power metal Renaissance sort of party band. We're really influenced by like Ailstorm and Insiferum and Glory Hammer, and then like Exodus and Slayer and Dream Theater, and trying to bring all those elements together. And the vocals are really cool. I think Cole's sounding so majestic on this album. If you hear our first album, he was trying different things, and it wasn't him. He was trying to fit himself into a mold that wasn't really him, and he has this great choral background. And so on this album, he was just him, and he's such a great, phenomenal singer. And so he just, everything turned very much melodic, and we tried to make big backing vocal, cool choruses that do sort of counterpoint things, and just do sort of Ailstormy sort of things. So it was a really fun album to make, and I'm super proud of it, and I'm trying really hard to market it online. But putting together marketing funnels is a little harder than playing guitar, but in time, hopefully I'll have it dialed in.
Is your other album Tension?
Yeah, no, I think there's a couple of Railguns, so that might be.
Oh yeah, it's not you guys then.
Our other album is called World Domination, and
Are you on Spotify or anything?
I think World Domination might be on Spotify. I don't know if we ended up putting the whole thing I took a course on marketing the album, and the whole thing was like, people aren't going to buy your album if it's on Spotify. You're kind of essentially asking people to buy something that they already have, and because of logic, you're going to lose sales. So I don't think Chronicles is available anywhere except for through the marketing funnel. But yeah, if you're interested in checking out that album, you can either just go to www.railgunmetal.com or and then there's like an opt-in for an email, and we'll send you a bunch of free tracks.
The cool thing about the vocals, I thought, was that your singer doesn't try to sing super high pitch, because a lot of power metal that I'm used to is like Dragon Force, yeah, and then this guy is like singing in his natural range, and he sounds strong. You know what I mean?
Thanks, man. I'm sure Cole would be really jazzed to hear that, and I'm jazzed for him to hear that. He was thinking of doing that, and then in the studio he was like, I'm just gonna bring it lower, do like the third down or a fifth down, and just do someplace comfortable, and there's no reason to be a singer that you're not, as much as all of us would like to, well, maybe not you, would like to be ZP Tharp or Mark Hudson. I'm just not, and he's not, but he's a great singer. Cole's a great singer. And
there's something I've learned. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, well, there's something I've learned over the years, that when we're starting to play guitar or we're starting out as a vocalist or whatever it is, you're looking at your influences and you're trying to take whatever you can to be like them. Like you're trying to take some of their techniques and trying to mimic them a little bit. But then when you start to put your own voice together, and that's when like everybody starts to say that, that's when everything changed for me, because you get your own sound. But also it's the things that we don't like about ourselves is oftentimes the things that other people do like about us. So it's like, I'll play something a certain way and I'm like, I fucking hate the way I always play it like that. But other people might be like, oh, the way you bend that is really interesting. No one else bends notes like that. And I'm like, wait, really? That's what you like about my playing? I hate that.
You're absolutely right, dude. That's really profound epiphany to have about yourself. I think it's always the hardest to analyze yourself, you know, because you hear it all the time, but to kind of look at yourself from a bird's eye view and realize that is really cool. I think a good example of that is like Alexi Laiho, his vibrato. I think a lot of us guitarists in this age are kind of snobby about vibrato and making sure it's wide enough and has a beautiful enough, like, sweeping sort of sound to it. And I don't think Alexi Laiho has that sound that I'm talking about, but his sound only sounds like him, you know? Even when he plays like little scale runs and stuff, he just has this certain chime to his guitar tone that kind of comes out, and it's so him, you know? You never hear that shit anywhere else, and it fits the music so well. It's like, you know, if he's talking about, you know, war and knights and shit, because their music is a little more like classical and baroque at times, especially off that, what's my favorite album? The green one. What's it called? War.
I only know Blood Drunk, the title of that one.
Okay. I think it's man, I'm about to get crucified for not knowing this, but anyway, the green one.
Hate Breeder.
That's the one. I love that album. It's my favorite, and it's because all the cool instrumental stuff, and when he's doing that stuff, it always sounds a little bit like a plate of armor to me. There's that characteristic in his tone and his execution, and, you know, I think that's cool, man. I think you're so spot on that, you know, maybe that, fuck, he probably doesn't give a fuck, but I mean, like, to anyone who's hating on his sound or his approach, which I don't know if a lot of people are, he's pretty rad. But, you know, I think the most admirable thing to do in music is to have a unique sound, and he obviously has one. Yeah.
Yeah, I just recently got into their music, and every single album is incredible. I'm like blown away by it, and yeah, big fan already, and I don't even hardly know their stuff.
Yeah, they're fantastic.
What's your dirtiest guitar neck you got here? I think this is mine here. I'll show you. Mine's not too bad, but you can see there is definitely a lot of gunk built up on that thing.
You know what? I think it's honorable to have so many guitars that you don't have too much gunk on any of them, because it's all nicely spread across 50 of them. But
yeah, probably.
Yeah, this is definitely the one. I keep it on there for nostalgic reasons, but back in the day, I had the pleasure of hanging out with a couple cool guys who were, you know, kind of in the scene in the 80s. We're just friends I have that, you know, were at the front row, the Racer X show, or like replaced Yngwie and Steeler, you know what I mean? Like those sort of like, you know, just guys that remember it, you know, we're right there for it. And I was talking to that guy one time, Kurt James. If you actually look him up, he's a phenomenal guitar player, crazy musician. But he had sold my buddy this guitar neck, and he's looking at it, and he's like, dude, I don't know about buying this thing. Like, should I clean all this gunk off of it after I buy it from you? He's like, dude, if Yngwie sold you this neck, would you clean the gunk off of it? He's like, dude, that's where all the tone and yumminess comes from. It's from the gunk, man. And this guy was like that about every aspect of his tone, you know, from the older strings he would play, or like, he was like, they're not good until you like boil them and then put them on your guitar, or like, this tube I don't know about, man. We'll try this one. You know, until he would, or like, that battery in your pedal is no good. You got to use a more weathered battery, so that you're not at the 9 volts, but instead like just 7 volts, because then you kind of get like this like Variac sort of feel, where it's pulling, where it's the battery's working, the pedal's working harder for the lack of power, and it's saturating the tone. That's what you're going after.
It's like, there's the old clubs where bands used to play that the wall outlets didn't have like full 110 or 120 volts. So they'd plug their amps in and it would kill some of their gain off. They'd be operating at 85 volts or something like that.
No way.
Yeah,
No.
so there's certain guitarists who say there's something to that old clubs would have shitty wiring in the walls and stuff.
Yeah, and they dug that, or that was like the worst or something?
I don't know, but maybe there's something to that. I mean, people dial back like you're saying with Variacs and stuff like that, so...
Yeah. I mean, it's incredible. It's come so far, It's come so far from like a dude in his garage, like, man, if only, or like wiring up his Marshall stack and noticing that it was set for British power and that he had it like to 210 volts, and noticing, man, the amp doesn't have any power coming through, but this tiny little bit of sound that I'm getting through is absolutely perfect. So is absolutely perfect and like nothing I've ever heard before. So how do I recreate that, And then going out and finding a power soak such as a Variac and then biasing the tubes for not 120 power here in America, but instead like to play at, like you said, 80 or 100 and just get that saturation like that, the fact that Eddie went through that process for all of us now to be like, so I've got this epic Kemper and we're going to use it to record the album. It's like, there's something that's so dissatisfying about that to me. But at the same time, I guess it's pretty cool. People could fucking fly over the world with a USB and a Kemper and like not worry about anything else. Well, at least they could when live music was still a thing before a virus took over the entire world.
Yeah, when you were allowed to fly across the world too.
It's exactly. Anyway,
I don't know. Do you got to go? It's already 8 now.
I'm good. I actually don't have appointments for the rest of tonight. So.
Okay, because you said that when we first started talking, you're like, do you have any techniques that you're struggling with or that you're working on? What are you working on right now? And I told you the main things I'm working on right now is trying to memorize all the scales. Like I'll memorize a scale and be able to solo in that, and then I can't go to another scale because or else I'll forget the last one. That's like one of my biggest things I'm working on right now. And you're like, oh, there's some tricks to that you don't have to memorize every scale.
Yeah, definitely. Would you say that you're ready to start talking about your guitar playing, or you still have a couple other questions?
No, I'd say let's jump on into it. All right, guys, that's it for part 1 of the podcast. Go check out part 2 if you're interested in seeing him instruct me and give me a little bit of tips into some deeper theory stuff. And he starts to kind of pitch his one-on-one online coaching program. So thanks for coming on, Luke. And you guys can follow him again at Luke Man Shredding. Links down in the description for part 2 of this podcast.